Calm, focus, happiness.
Hey, Mindful Tribe, welcome back to the show. You know that we talk a lot about fitness on the show, and today that's what we're talking about as well. And it's going to be a really interesting conversation. I'm talking to a gentleman who has been helping people, men specifically, over 45. And we'll talk about more details about that when we get into the interview. But he has really made a major shift with some of his clients, and it's pretty impressive, and he's got great creds as well. We're going to talk about that, and he's just a very generous person who, well, get this, he has a book which is awesome, by the way, the Athletic Advantage, and all of his proceeds for the book go to a charity. And wow, I don't see that too often. The book subtitled 10 Lessons to Becoming a Premier Athlete. So my guest today is Aaron Hines. Aaron, are you in mindfulness mode today?
I'm ready to rock, man. I can't be any better. I just got out of the sauna probably about an hour ago, so I'm ready to go.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Well, Aaron, tell us what mindfulness means to you.
I think for me, I'll say being present in this state. I know sometimes it's being kind of in the moment. Sometimes it's hard, but just trying to take a deep breath in stressful situations, or finding things for me to take a step back and kind of maybe recharge in a way. There's a lot of pressure on what I do. A lot of stress comes with running my business and managing family with my kids and sports and things like that. So for me, it's just taking a step back, being present in the moment, and finding ways for me to kind of move forward each day without things piling up.
Yeah, Aaron, that's awesome. Your website, premierperformancetrainer.com, is where we can find your information and everything about what you've been doing. But I just want to make sure that I'm clear on who you work with, and that's men 45 years old and older. Is that right?
Yeah, so I actually work with both men and women.
Okay.
I'll find both the population, or both men and women, is kind of I'll say bread and butter. There's a fine, there's probably a big difference on the amount that come into my facility, because as men, I have found we kind of know everything, and we don't want other people to tell us how to work out or things of that sort. Not everybody, but I would say it's probably 60-40,
Yeah.
or 40% men, 60% women.
Okay.
But yeah, it's at 45 and up range. Individuals who are looking to lose weight, have more energy, and live life pain-free. And living life pain-free is kind of a big one, because waking up with aches and pains every morning it's just not good. And so finding ways that we can work out and get better movement in, and stretch and be more mobile as human beings, is kind of the goal for what I do. So I can work with anybody. So 45 is kind of the lower end, and my oldest client's 81. So yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, yeah, when we talk about pain, man, there are a lot of people experiencing pain, and especially people over 45, but even younger. But what are some of the main sources of pain that you notice that some of your clients have?
Yeah, most, if not all, here currently, has been like lower back pain,
Mm.
and that could be from I don't want to say twisting the wrong way, or even just putting on your shoes the wrong way, putting on a pair of pants, or reaching in the kind of in the January, February, March, reaching back to put your raincoat on, or just putting on a coat in general. So just those like sudden small movements that we do every day can really kind of hinder your movement if you don't do it the right way. So that's some of the bigger ones I've seen. But I've seen over the years, double knee, double hip replacements, to neck pain, to shoulder impingements, to frozen shoulder, to um, you know uh, tearing your meniscus going on a ski trip, or just being out in the yard with your kids, maybe playing a pickup basketball game and rupturing your Achilles. So there's all these different injuries that happen that we don't think will happen to us, but it's the trauma that happened 10, 20, 30 years prior that's leading up to this cause sometimes down the road as we get older.
Right.
um
Yeah.
with
Well, I
that,
know
so
that you're based in the United States. Tell our listeners where you're based out of, because I know that some of the people you work with one-on-one and in groups.
Yeah, so I'm based in Brentwood, Tennessee. So it's I would say it's south of Nashville, probably
Okay.
20-25 minutes, depending on traffic, could be an hour and a half.
Okay.
But yeah, but I'll look at it there. So I have a just a small 1,500 square foot semi-private training studio.
Right. Very good. Yeah. So let's talk about diet for a minute. I know that you work with people and help them lose weight. A lot of people have tried different things like intermittent fasting. I have done intermittent fasting myself for quite a long time. Do you find that that is a positive thing and that it works well for your clients, or is it something you tend to stay away from?
I'm under, so I would say it's for me, it's like, let's find something that's going to work for you. There's a lot of, and everybody's going to be a little bit different, and that's coming probably from genetically disadvantage or advantage, or your body's going to adapt or kind of maybe reject some of those things we try. For me, I have not personally tried intermittent fasting. My wife has done it for the last 2 weeks and has lost almost 8 pounds. But for me, I would say let's find something that's going to work and be successful, because handing out a meal plan, or getting real restrictive on caloric intake and counting your calories with, we have busy schedules, is it's just monotonous for some. I do it. I'm down almost 25 pounds since January. Me personally, I
Good for
count
you.
every single day. I'm not as successful every day, but I try to be at least 6 days of the 7. So for some, it works to count, sometimes weighing, sometimes it's just trying small little things. Maybe it's just fasting 1 day a week, or you're going to do that 18/6 intermittent fasting, where you fast for 18 hours and then feed your body for 6. So I'm under the guidance of, let's find something that's going to work for you, and let's see if it lasts long term. Because if it lasts long term, then it's a lifestyle change, right?
Yeah.
If it's short term, then we're going to be, you're going to be on intermittent fasting, and then you're going to try to go to counting your calories, and then you're going to maybe try the I don't know, Weight Watchers, and usually it gets to where none of it works because we're not consistent enough. And
Right.
so
It's
we want,
mostly consistency that it boils down to, right?
yeah, so yeah, it's consistency, and it's going to be consistent. You have to say, I would say for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, something of that sort, enough time where your body's going to be able to adjust and adapt to it. It's just like, I would say taking a new supplement or something like that. You're not going to
Yeah.
have instant gratification. You may feel better, but long-term effect is going to be 30, 60, 90 days of that supplement or whatever it is you're taking or trying new. So it's the same thing with diets, intermittent fasting, carnivore diets. I've got some that have tried that, or their friends have tried it. It's just what works for you is not going to work for me, and vice versa, right?
Yeah, exactly. So as far as food is concerned, what's your biggest weakness?
Man, my biggest weakness is pizza and chicken wings.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's any type of pizza, really. Uh, I've been in the point where drinking a lot of alcohol and eating pizza and wings got me in a really, really bad place as far as like weight and unhealthy. So for me, I do that a little bit more moderation now,
Yeah.
because nothing worse than a fitness professional trying to tell somebody how to lose or how to be healthy when, take a look in the mirror and you're not really healthy yourself.
Right.
In my opinion, I'm just saying from my experience with that. So that's my biggest thing. I don't do a lot of sweets. I'm not an ice cream guy. I'm not chocolate or candy.
Yeah.
So those are kind of my two food choices.
Well, you wrote your book, The Athletic Advantage. And what brought you to the point that you were ready to write that book? What was the major message you wanted to get across?
My biggest, probably more inspiring people that coming back from injuries, or like or maybe self-limiting beliefs, would there's a lot of things that happen to us along, maybe it's just more of a sports journey or life journey that we think we can't do. So it for me, it was more trying to inspire either younger athletes or just people in general that, you can overcome a lot of different things, and you can push through, and as long as you have a plan, or you have people around you to be, maybe a little bit more of a push, that anything can happen and you can be successful with that. A lot of it's from my own personal journey, coming from maybe as the kind of beginning of the book, my college coach wrote, I wasn't probably the best athlete, but I showed up, I did what was asked. And I learned a lot of things from that. But for most, it's just being told they can't, they can't, they can't. And I've been told that a lot. And that's how I overcame, not being the greatest, becoming a collegiate athlete, but also running my own business from people telling me I couldn't do something. So I'll use that as a little bit of motivation every day, not just weekly, but every day.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Tell me about your life as an athlete.
Oh man, so I started probably playing sports in probably seventh grade.
Okay.
With that, I was more of a football more centric for that. But my parents were under the kind of guidelines, if you didn't play sports, that you're going to be in either theater arts or band, because they didn't want us sitting around playing video games all the time.
Yeah.
So I learned my lesson there. I didn't play sports for a year, and I was in the band, and that wasn't my
Wasn't your
wasn't
thing?
my wasn't my thing. It was pretty awful. My brother played the trumpet, my other brother played the saxophone, and I played the trombone. And so it was a lot
Didn't
of
go well.
noise, making. Yeah. So so
Well, as a
you know,
music teacher, I hear you. I know that some people it's really their thing, some not so much. So then you transitioned into football, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I tried it, right? So
Yeah.
that's the big
Good
thing.
for you.
So football, and I wrestled. I was probably my freshman year. Freshman year of high school. I was probably 6', 6'1", about 170 pounds. I probably had no reason or no business being on a field trying to tackle somebody, but I really tried wrestling. Was more of mentally. I wrestled up north when we lived in North Dakota for a while, and I really
Mhm.
liked it, but I just never could get to where I was mentally tough enough to overcome those 3 2-minute rounds of wrestling. I was asthmatic, so that was a little bit harder for me
Mm.
to kind of get my wind and stay in enough or better shape to be successful to last all 3 rounds. And so I ended up just kind of pushing everything off to the side. And after my junior year, I really started working out. That's really the first time. I would go in the weight room freshman, sophomore year and do a couple things and leave, but nothing real consistent. So that's kind of where I got hooked on playing football. And then I got to be pretty decent, made some, local, I guess, awards or whatever you want to call it, all regions. And I never made the all state, but I got one offer from a small school in Tennessee called Lambeth University. And
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was an NAIA school. And at the time, I had no idea where it was. I literally woke up on a Saturday and rode with a friend of mine to orientation. My parents weren't going to go because they were like, "You're not really serious, so we're not going to take you up there." So my buddy and I drove to orientation, and we're like, This place is in the middle of nowhere. It's
Yeah.
like on the other side of town. Never heard of it, and I get there, and it's like probably about the size of my high school campus with it. So I sat through orientation, came home, and I was like, "Yeah, what the heck? I'll try it." With that, so it was probably it was probably summer of 2004. I ended up reporting to camp. And camp was, I think, July through August of the whole, 2 days. You've got to be in shape. So I show up all through the summer. I'm working out. I'm busting it. I'm going to work out with a guy who's a former bodybuilder
Mhm.
who, I'd go to work from 6 to like 3, go work out from 4 to 6, go home, rinse, repeat for 7 days a week. And so I was in what I thought was the best shape I'd ever been in 19, 20 years old. So I show up, and day 2 is, run test, lift test, see what you're made of, see if you can actually do this.
Yeah.
And I was the only, and I take, this is my only pride and joy of college football. I was the only offensive lineman to make my lift test, my run test, and all the other testing. So I felt good about my conditioning and how college sports was going to propel me to the next level, and I was going to be awesome. But there was, from there was a lot of learning lessons of, this sucks, man. This is work. This is a lot of 5 a.m. workouts, getting up early, not sleeping. You're so tired on the weekends, you just kind of watch TV.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I had success in my eyes of like, I made it. A lot of kids don't make it to college to play sports. They quit before they get there. So I was like the, maybe 3% or 5% that get there. And I had an injury after my freshman year and ended up taking about a year to recover. I got back, rehabilitated, and my sophomore year got through, and I was ready for my junior year. And coach was like, he gave all the scholarship money that was available to other kids, and I was like, Coach, like, what's the deal? I've showed up, I've practiced, I've done everything possible to be, maybe a 1 or 2 on the team. What gives? And there was nothing. There was no help. There was really no answer. So I just politely said, I'm sorry, coach, but I'm going to have to leave. So 2006 kind of wrapped up my college playing career. Any regrets? No. The only thing I regretted was not taking my football helmet or jersey for proof that I actually played with that. But a lot of those experience I had, they're in the book, as far as like overcoming injuries or self-doubt or things that people told me that I wasn't good enough and things like that. So a lot of that's just proof in the book that if you can stick to the plan and do the things that people tell you that you can be successful long term. And I think that's kind of where I've been so far. Fast forward to now, there's a lot of people that said you'll never do this, you'll never do that, and I'm just kind of smiling in their rearview mirror, like, look at me now, right?
Yeah, for sure. And you work with specifically a certain group of people, which I think is a really awesome thing, mostly older people over 45 years old. What made you choose to do that, to work with mostly people over that age?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm 37. So it's like, what do I know about people 45 and up? I know a lot more than you probably think. So that population for me is the ones who have maybe tried everything, all the other gyms in town, all the other hottest and latest things, like your online, video training or your boot camps or things of that sort. So at that age and time, your kids are a little bit older, you have a little bit more flexibility. You're not looking for something to completely destroy your joints in your body, because you did that in your early 20s and maybe mid 30s. So for me, I thought that was kind of the gold mine of clientele that need my help. They want to work out. They don't want to run laps around the building. They don't want to do burpees. They don't want to be yelled at during the workout. They want to be talked to like human beings. They want to be educated. They want to be taught how to do things, and they want to come in and do the work for 45, 50 minutes and then high five you and come back the next time. So that's where I found kind of my sweet spot on that 45 plus. And I would say probably now is it's kind of wiggled up to about 50 and up. There's a few 40, 45, but most in that age range need help, and they want somebody to tell them what to do, how to do it properly, and how to be successful with a plan, right?
Yeah, well, you've got the personality for it. You're authentic. You just come across as being real, and you care about people. You have this passion for sports and exercise. So then you really have the knowledge because of your degree and everything. And I just think, wow, you're really doing great things with all of this. So this is fantastic. So what do you think about Pilates? I notice a fair number of older people do that. Do you find that that's a helpful thing for people over the age of 45 or 50?
Yeah, I do actually. I have a few clients who take Pilates more for joint range of motion and flexibility. So I deal with a fair amount who have, just from different surgeries, have restricted movement. So there's only certain things that we're maybe able to do based around those joint mobility issues. Or for instance, one of my long-term clients, she's got double knee, double hip replacement. So the Pilates and being on the reformer can actually push and extend my increased range of motion for her. So like when she's not doing stuff for multiple days in a row, those joints get super tight and stiff. So her gait becomes pretty, I'm not leaning, but it's abnormal. So the
Right.
Pilates once or twice, I think she goes once or twice a week, has really helped increase range of motion, preventing her from getting like pulls and strains in her muscles, but also just putting them in positions that they're not normally in. And I think that's super helpful for people to kind of go outside your comfort zone and try something new. Because the strength training is going to be long-term benefits like exponentially awesome. But if you don't have flexibility and mobility through your joints and the strength trainings, it's not going to be as beneficial because everything's going to lock up. You're going to be stiff. You're going to be hunched over. And then usually you start to get a little bit more injured or injury prone due
Yeah.
to those that stiffness. So yeah, I think Pilates is great. Yoga, I've got clients who go to yoga because those are things I can't offer. I don't offer. I can stretch you, but that 60 minutes or 45 minutes of yoga and Pilates flow is going to be more than I can offer, which I'm
Right.
all for it. I'm all for it. I mean, I started going to the sauna and doing the cold plunge. I mean, it's whatever works. I'm all in.
Yeah. How long do you stay in the cold?
I lasted 4 minutes. That was
Good.
all I could do.
Well, that's enough. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was plenty for the first time I tried it. I was like, I don't know about this one. So
Oh, yeah, because it takes time.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, just like anything else. I mean, if time is good, and the more you do it, the more successful you become.
Yeah.
Staying a little bit longer or being more consistent with it.
Yeah, I love the cold, and I really totally believe that it can make you feel more vibrant and more alive and just so much better. So I
Yeah,
wrote down 3 words before your interview. Well, I wrote down a whole page of notes, but I mean 3 main words. I'm like, I got to cover these things. And one of them is balance. And you talked about it a bit about the Pilates, but as we grow older, our balance becomes a real issue because a lot of people end up falling or something like that, and then they're injured. And what can you do to help people with their balance as they grow older?
yeah. That's a great question, and a lot of things I try to incorporate into the training aspect with that. So the biggest thing is for me is you've got flexibility, mobility, you got balance, you got strength, and you have conditioning, right? So we can have those kind of I'll say 4 pillars to kind of work hand in hand. We're going to be
Hmm.
more successful. So whether that's single leg holds or freestanding kind of balance holds, where that's not hanging on to something. Closing one eye, I do a lot of that closing one eye or closing both eyes, proprioception. Some things I do seated, seated balance. You don't think about if we're seated and we take our feet off the floor, we have to stay neutral, engage our core, keep everything kind of upright and erect. If not, we tend to lean forward or we go side to side. So there's a lot of things you can do, and I think it's for everyone. As you get older, your balance gets worse and worse and worse, and you may not notice it now, but in 5 years, you'll notice going upstairs or going downstairs. Those are the 2 biggest things I deal with of going downstairs and hanging on to the rail. I want you to be able to not hang onto the rail. And that may sound like, oh my God, I've never been able to do that. But if we can gain the strength and the coordination and the balance on that, you should be able to either hang on slightly less or just put your hand on the rail to guide you slightly. Because it does get worse over time. I've had people fall in my gym, scare you half to death, falling and
Yeah.
stepping off of something. But if we can incorporate any type of balance training. Sometimes I use like a hand diet, like standing on one leg, and we'll do like a little rope slams
Hmm.
using that because that weight going forward is going to push you forward. But if you can set back and maintain your balance, you're going to be able to stay more upright. Other things like hand-eye coordination, like maybe throwing like a tennis ball or having a ball on standing on one leg and maybe like bouncing a ball with that. So if you can do that on one leg, you should be able to do it on the other, but you're going to think about one leg is going to be stronger than the other. So you may be able to do it longer on one side than the other. But the goal is to make sure that we're about 50-50, right? Which
Yeah.
means 50%, we can hold it for 5 minutes on the left side and 5 minutes on the right side. And that's going to take time. But I
Yeah.
think balance is key. And you're right with that. If you can incorporate it just a little bit, it could be 30 seconds every day for a week, and then you go up to a minute and then a minute and a half. You're going to see progress. It's just a matter of being consistent with it.
Sure. And one of the other words I wrote down is posture, because as we grow older, our posture changes. And of course, that's related to balance. But I've noticed that there are mechanisms that you can buy. I've seen them on Facebook or whatever. And I guess you put it behind your neck or something, and it's supposed to help you with your posture. Do you have any knowledge of that, or do you have any suggestions about posture as people get older?
I don't use a lot of I know about some of the things. One, I think it's called backbone or back. They use it for like golfers, for golfer posture, but it
Okay.
basically, you strap it on, you put it on like a backpack,
Yeah.
and it helps you, it kind of pushes you forward so you're standing more erect.
Yeah.
Or if you're a golfer, you're going to be maintained slightly kind of hunched over posture, but it keeps you up and back. So the biggest thing on posture is, like I like to tell people, is that where your eyes go is usually where your body follows. So if my eyes are always down, you're going to have a curved back. You're going to start to kind of lean. So we work on a lot of like band resisted, I call them like open, like pulls. We pull the band, kind of rip it apart to open up our chest, strengthen up our upper back, anything kind of back related, strengthening that area. And also working on, as you're sitting at your desk, kind of like where I'm at now, it's easy to get to where we kind of lean over.
Yes.
We kind of slouch, but if you can stay tall, squeeze your stomach in tight, almost like I were, punching you through your belly button, and staying erect this way is going to be much better. Because yes, I do see a lot of people that have poor posture, and we try to work on it. But you got to think, if your posture's been bad for 5 years, it's going to take a lot longer to get it better, just
Yeah.
because you've been in a compromised position for such a long time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it.
So when
Does
you
that make sense?
walk, should your vision be pretty much on the horizon?
I would argue yes. Some would probably say you should look, maybe slightly down. But vision wise, for what I do, is if your vision goes down and up all the time, your balance usually goes with it too. So if you're looking kind of out, maybe forward and slightly down, could be a better way, because sometimes looking too far out, kind of neutral distance, you may feel like you're kind of like pushing your head forward.
Okay.
So that forward, I say forward posture, maybe slightly tilted down, so that way you still have kind of retracted back with your neck, and you're not so protruding out like a turtle poking its head out of the shell.
Yeah.
With
I really
that.
like running, and I also like walking. What are your thoughts on running? And one of the things on the show is a lot of people always mention, hey, if you can walk an hour a day and keep that up pretty much every day, that's going to really do a lot to help you be fit. What are your comments on those things?
Yeah, I agree with that. Running is not for everyone, and it's more of a, I would say, you can talk to 100 different orthopedics, and they're going to give you 100 different answers. But my thought on running is, if it doesn't hurt, do it. And by hurt, I mean joint pain, discomfort, your hips hurt, your back hurts, your knees hurt, your ankles hurt. Long-term wise, it may be more beneficial for you to walk. I ran today for the first time in probably 2 years. That did feel great when I was doing it. Yes. Am I sorted already? Yes. So I'm a big believer, and do what works for you. If it doesn't hurt, do it. But you can get, equal beneficial. You've got people running marathons in their 80s. They're doing it for a long period of time. But you got to think, the deterioration of your joints and the tendons and everything. Some people tend to kind of fold a little bit quicker than others, or the meniscus may start to wear down, and now it's bone on bone. So now you've got to think, is walking more beneficial for me now, or running? So you kind of have to do what's better for me in the moment with that. So it comes back to that. Everybody's different, right?
Yeah,
I've got some who cannot run just because their joints are artificial. Now, what's better for them is using the elliptical, because it's nice and smooth. There's no pain or discomfort. Walking on the treadmill destroys them, and they can walk outside, but it's just that intermittent, like uphill, downhill, uphill, downhill. with that. And what usually gets for most is kind of the knees and the ankles as far as
Right.
they're running
Yeah,
with
that all
that.
makes
So
sense. Yeah.
yes, it's just the way the ground and pound of being on pavement or I used to like running outside on the grass to
Hmm.
kind of get a little bit more movement, a little bit more muscle activation, but not everybody has a flat surface to go run on grass. So
That's
it's kind of
that's
back
true.
to, yeah, kind of back to the old the 5 finger toe shoes. Remember those?
Yes, I do.
Where you kind of you feel kind of at one with the ground and you're getting more muscle tendon activation. So it was tend to be better, but it's almost like running barefoot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. My other word is metabolism. And as we get older, it feels like our metabolism changes so much. And sometimes I feel like, geez, I could go and just eat a salad every day for a week, and I don't know if I'd still lose weight or not because of my metabolism. What are your thoughts on metabolism?
Yeah, I think it does change, and I feel like there's what typically changes is as we get older, in my opinion, as we feel like it's a lot, and it is a lot harder to lose. So therefore, sometimes we do too restrictive dieting or too restrictive. So then, therefore, we kind of tank our metabolism in a way. So for most of my women, it's more or less of like they don't eat enough, and women listening may be, oh my gosh, I eat a ton. But what comes down to is restricted, not eating enough, and it's not so much calories, it's the amount of carbs, fats, and proteins that they need for that energy boosting or that long term energy over a daily let's like span of a day. So typically, this is what's found that works for my clientele is if we boost that to 200 to 300 calories more. Oh my God, it's a miracle. We're starting to lose weight. We've got more energy, and they're not a sloth. So it's usually like it varies person to person. Some people can eat whatever and do whatever in the 40s and 50s and seem like they don't have a problem with it. So it does fluctuate, and hormones play a lot into that. I think a lot too. I don't have a proficient background in that, but if you talk to some people, the hormones and genetics and a lot of different things, it happens over time. And so I think that can be hurtful for a lot, but there's also other ways to kind of boost that too. And one of them that I'm starting to learn more about is that intermittent fasting
Hmm.
to revitalize that metabolism, burn the fat, and then increase that energy intake so that way you feel revitalized, you sleep better, you feel better, you've got your blood pressures, the best it's been in years, and you've just got increased energy. So that's something I'm looking forward to kind of diving a little bit more as far as like boosting metabolism long term. So
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Aaron, I've worked in the field of bullying prevention for a long time, and I always ask my interviewees about this topic. And of course, if you're being bullied or if you had been bullied in the past, that can really affect your well-being when it comes to fitness and health. Do you have any thoughts or stories about bullying where mindfulness would have made a difference?
um if I would have probably thought about it years ago, um I would say semi-bullied. We lived on an Indian reservation for 5 years, and we were kind of the minority um there. So there's very few Caucasian people with that. So I think if I guess if I were maybe smarter, a little bit brighter, it was young. I was in middle school
Yeah.
with that, so it was more of a kind of ticked off moment. So I think if I would have maybe been able to kind of take that in and maybe I don't say journal about it or write things down that were agitating or maybe annoying about the situation, it might have been, I don't say resolved quicker, but I was kind of a overweight middle school kid, and this guy was twice my size. So I think if I would have been in the moment and known about it more, I think yes, it would have been helpful. It probably would have dissolved, not dissolved, but it would have been kind of suppressed a little bit more, so it wouldn't happen as frequent. And I'm not saying it was like bad bullying. It was just more or less, hey, you're the outcast. You're not from this area. We're gonna punch you. We're gonna do this sort of thing. But I think from those moments is kind of where I got into more like working out. Like that's not gonna happen again. I've got to be big enough, strong enough to where I can, get my mind right so I don't have to encounter these situations
Yeah, way to
as I get
go.
older. Yeah, as I
Yeah,
get older.
yeah. And Mindful Tribe, the website is premierperformancetrainer.com. The book is The Athletic Advantage, 10 Lessons to Becoming a Premier Athlete by Hines. So Aaron, as we move forward in the interview, I want to ask you 5 quick answer questions. So just 30-second answers are perfect. The first one is this: who is one person who has been a really powerful influence in your life when it comes to mindfulness?
It would probably be my dad. Um, he was just quick. He was a pastor for a long time, so learning how to, if it's more prayer, not a lot of meditation, but just trying to find ways to control the situation and
Mm-hmm.
be kind of present in the moment. I think that's kind of the biggest thing. Learning those things from religious background has
Mm-hmm.
been super helpful. Just kind of be at peace and be stress free. I try that more and more now because my stress level sometimes gets pretty high and I get pretty anxious and irritable.
Right. Well, it makes sense that you do those things because you do seem pretty grounded and like I said before, you seem like a real person, and no wonder you can help so many people with their issues. Let's talk about emotions. So, as far as your emotions are concerned, how have you found that mindfulness or having a level of mindfulness can help you with your emotions?
I think it probably helps me keep them even keel at kind of a mid level. I think not having those, I guess, ways to kind of re-evaluate mindfulness or just trying to, um, maybe meditation or whatever I tend to choose or on a daily basis. I think if I didn't have those things, I would be probably all over the place. I get pretty hot headed and not very frequently, but if it builds up over time, it's like a pot boiling over.
Mm,
It's not good for a temporary. It's a short period of time, but having those things to be more mindful and being grateful for the things that I have and like, I think that's helpful because if not, it's not good. It's just kind of uh, it's like a bull in a china shop.
yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you about breathing. This is something we haven't talked about. And when we talk about health and fitness, breathing is usually part of the conversation. What are your thoughts?
Um, Man, I wish I did it more. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Kind of control breathing. I get anxious about a lot of things, and so I found that closing my eyes and maybe counting to 15 to 20 is super helpful. It kind of releases those things that kind of got me bent out of shape for a minute. But maybe doing a little bit more of that would probably be more beneficial for me. Just the different things I kind of come in contact with. I'm dealing with other people's issues on a daily basis. I'm dealing with other whether it's coming from a political background, a religious background. You see different people and different ethnicities every day coming to the gym. So everybody has things they come to the gym with, and sometimes it's left with me. So I'm just
Mhm.
trying to find those ways to release that and not let it be mine, right?
Yeah.
If you take
Yeah.
on other people's problems, they become your problems, and your problems become bigger than you think.
Yeah. You're right
Helpful.
about
So,
that
so,
for sure.
so
Uh,
the breathing is helpful.
yeah, for sure. Well, I recommend your book, The Athletic Advantage. Are there any other books you would recommend that can help people?
Books in general, I I don't I read, but I kind of dabble here and there. So I'm big on the kind of journaling mode of writing it down. Reading is great, but there's only so much we can retain on a lot of those topics. So
Mhm.
one I use, and this is just personal preference, I've done the 75 hard challenge
Oh,
where
so
you
have I. Ah,
yeah,
that's interesting.
they have a journal where it's more of a the 5 things. I think it's more mindfulness or maybe it's gratefulness things that you do on a daily basis, and you can write those things down. And I think it's helpful to kind of put it out on paper and then kind of revisit that at the end of the day, and then you look at it and say, well, what did I accomplish?
Mhm.
Did I accomplish those things I set out to do, or was I so scatterbrained by not staying on track, that I got, it looks like a bunch of scribble marks on my paper with that. So that's one thing for me that's been helpful. I read, but my attention span's, about 10 pages and I'm done.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those books I've read probably to page 50 and then I don't finish them. So
Yeah.
that's just self admission. So, but I think the journal side of that, having a daily thing to write those things down has been more helpful than actually reading a lot of the different books.
Yeah, good advice. Yeah, I think journaling is so powerful. I really agree with you there. And my last question, are there any apps that have helped you or that you sometimes recommend that are related to this in any way?
In the past, I've used the Calm app just to kind of like, it's setting the mood or the tone of whatever you want to listen to, and kind of just, I best to just chill out, take a nap, 30 minutes, and then pop back up. There's some things I do. I'll maybe just listen to a book on tape with some of those. So I say Audible is a good one for me. Find some of those books and just 10 minutes, 20 minutes, just kind of let everything go, listen to something that's totally outside of, what I would probably typically do, and then kind of, come back to reality in 20 minutes and then focus on what I have to do the rest of the day. I think those two have been pretty helpful.
Yeah, good advice. Good advice. Well, you have really shared a ton of stuff with us today, Aaron. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the things you do. As we wrap up the interview, do you have any final words of advice for our Mindful Tribe listeners?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say is to find one thing that you can stick to for the mindfulness. I say training. What you find helpful. I find that sometimes just sitting in my chair, close my eyes, and counting to 10 to 20. Or here recently, I've been doing going to the sauna, relaxation, making sure that I am tuning everything else out, having that moment for myself, but also being in the moment and kind of clearing your head of everything that's going on outside of what you typically would deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
With that. So find one thing and stick with it. That's it. It's the biggest thing.
That is great advice. Aaron, thank you so much for being on Mindfulness Mode. I really appreciate you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye now. Hey, Mindful Tribe. Are you experiencing anxiety? Are you experiencing stress and tension and feeling as though, it's just difficult to move on? That describes the clients I work with. Clients who have had an awful lot of problem with anxiety and stress, and maybe some kind of habits that are holding them back. And through hypnosis, we get to the bottom of it. We get right in there and we talk about it. But with hypnosis, we get right into what is causing some of this in your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind represents about 90 to 95% of your thoughts. And you don't even realize what those thoughts are much of the time. And through hypnosis, we can get in there and we can work at this. Doesn't mean we're going to change what's going on in your subconscious mind. It means we're going to become more aware of it and then deal with it and think of it differently in the conscious mind. And I am so happy to have helped so many people with their anxiety through hypnosis and coaching. And you could be the next person. If you're listening to this episode and you would like to let go of some of this anxiety, send me an email, bruce@mindfulnessmode.com. Put coaching session in the subject line, coaching session, send it to bruce@mindfulnessmode.com. And I would love to have you on a Zoom call for a free session where we can talk about what's going on and what's happening and how can I help you. Because that's one thing I truly know about myself, is that I really love helping other people, and I would love to help you. So thanks for listening. Take what we've learned today to reach new heights of calm, focus, and happiness. Stay in the mode.